Good morning. You join us today at the beautiful Aira Force waterfall in the Lake District. Today we're going to be having a look around the waterfall, up on Gowbarrow Fell above and coming back around the front with beautiful views of Ullswater. Sun is shining, let's go.
We begin our walk at the National Trust car park at Aira Force, one of the Lake District's most iconic waterfalls. The path initially winds gently through landscape gardens where towering Douglas firs and redwoods line the path, remnants of Victorian planting schemes. On this hazy summer's day, the sunlight breaks gently through the trees, bringing a soft glow to the mossy rocks and tree canopy. Before long, the rush of water becomes unmistakable, and we approach the dramatic viewing platforms where Aira Beck plunges 20 metres into the rocky gorge. Take time to explore here before continuing up through the woods along the beck.
Once you've left Aira Force, you don't leave all of the people behind because you follow up these beautiful pools and waterfalls, perfect for a relax and a dip on your way up or your way down. You're also walking in the trees, so it's nice and cool on a warm day like today. So you turn through the gate, start your way up the hill, and then this is the steep bit. It's about half a mile to the top of Gowbarrow Fell, but oh, it's a sharp pull.
From Aira Beck, the path climbs steeply up the open fellside towards the summit of Gowbarrow Fell, which sits at 481 metres high. The fell rises above the northwestern shore of Ullswater, with its summit marked by a trig point originally installed by the Ordnance Survey during their national mapping programme in the 20th century. Extensive path restoration has been carried out here by the National Trust and Fix the Fells, with pitch stone steps and drainage channels installed to prevent erosion on the steeper sections. These improvements help protect the fragile upland habitat while making the ascent more accessible for walkers.
That's it, we've made it to the top, puffed up the hill to the top of Gowbarrow Fell. We've got panoramic views all around from Helvellyn, where we were the other week, the Dodds, the Northern Fells, round to Little Mel Fell and Great Mel Fell, and then over to Ullswater, where we'll go for a bit of a better look next, so let's go.
From the summit, the path descends to join Ullswater Way, which traverses the open front of the fell above Yew Crag Plantation. Here the trail narrows into a rocky balcony path with views over Ullswater accompanying you along the gentle descent. The water shimmers silver blue in the haze, with the green hills of Place Fell and Hallin Fell rising from its shores. Bracken and heather frame the path, and although the terrain here is uneven in places, every step rewards you with another sweeping view. This exposed section gives a real sense of space and light, a contrast to the sheltered climb through the trees earlier in the walk.
On the way back down from Gowbarrow Fell, you walk along the traverse around the front and you see a bit of Ullswater, and then all of a sudden you come around a corner, see a little cairn, and you get all of this. The whole length of it, from Glenridding at one end to Pooley Bridge at the other. It's quite something, especially when the sun's on it and it's a gorgeous blue.
The final leg of the walk brings us past Lyulph's Tower, a castellated hunting lodge built in the late 18th century. Once part of the Howard family's Greystoke estate, the tower is named after Lyulph, a legendary figure connected to the area. For Victorian visitors, the Gothic-style folly would be a glimpse of grandeur before reaching the waterfall of Aira Force. Though now a private home, its turreted walls remain a striking building, nestled in the lower slopes of Gowbarrow. Today it provides a historic backdrop to the end of the walk that blends intimate natural beauty with sweeping lakeland views.
On the way back down, you've got plenty of options. You can dip your feet into the beck if it's warm, head into the car if it's cold, or like us today, head down to the shores of Ullswater that you've been looking at for the second half of walk, and we've got a nice flask of tea to enjoy while we take in the view and the atmosphere.